I came back from 3 years overseas to find some woman had stolen my family's $4 million lakefront property, installed a $2,000 electronic gate, and was charging my elderly neighbors $50 each just to visit their own grandkids at the lake. This lunatic had turned my grandfather's simple dirt road into Willowbrook Estates, complete with fake stone pillars and security cameras pointing directly at my cabin windows. When I pulled up in my dusty pickup, this robotic voice started demanding a resident access code like I'm some common criminal. Then here she comes tearing down the hill in her golf cart, designer sunglasses bouncing, screaming, "Private property. You're trespassing on my land." I rolled down my window real calm and held up my property deed, the one with my grandfather's signature from 1987, back when this witch was probably still learning to tie her shoes. Her face went from fake sweet smile to pure terror because she knew exactly what was coming next. What would you do if someone tried to steal your family land while you were defending our country? Drop a comment from whatever state you're watching from. Let me back up and tell you how this whole mess started. My name's Marcus Brennan, and I'm a 34-year-old Army engineer who just finished a 3-year tour overseas. When I first left, that lakefront cabin wasn't just property, it was legacy. My grandfather, Samuel Brennan, built it with his bare hands in the late 80s. Every inch of that pinewood frame smelled like history, like summers with my dad fishing till sunset, and winters with mom cooking gumbo by the stove. Before I left for duty, I paid all taxes, got the deed updated, and even hired a local caretaker, Mr. Hayes, an old friend of Grandpa's. He promised to keep an eye on the place. But when I called him last year, the number was disconnected. 3 years later, I drive back expecting peace, instead I find that my family name had been erased. There was a shiny metal sign saying, Willowbrook Estates HOA, Private Community. And under it, a smaller one. Trespassers will be prosecuted. My blood boiled. I walked up to that new electric gate, it buzzed and spoke like a robot. Access code required. Please enter passphrase. I laughed. Yeah, here's your passcode, this land belongs to Marcus Brennan. Then that's when she came. Rebecca Holloway. President of the so-called Willowbrook HOA. Blonde hair, golf cart, expensive perfume that could choke a moose. You're not allowed here, she barked. Funny, I said, I could say the same about you. She kept shouting, but I just pointed at the deed. Her face twitched, she recognized my grandfather's name. I told her calmly, you've got 30 seconds to explain how my cabin became part of your HOA before I call the sheriff. And that's when she smirked. Oh, honey, she said, you'll find that the law's on our side now. That night, I parked my truck right outside the gate and camped there. While she watched me from her cameras, sipping her Chardonnay, thinking she'd scared me off, she had no idea who she was dealing with. Because the next morning, I wasn't just Marcus Brennan, returning veteran. I was about to become her worst nightmare. The morning light spilled over the lake like liquid gold, but I couldn't feel an ounce of peace. I sat on my truck's hood, sipping cold coffee from a paper cup, staring at the metal gate that separated me from my own cabin. Behind that gate stood everything my grandfather worked for, now guarded by cameras, a keypad, and a woman who thought she owned the world. A white SUV rolled up. Out stepped a man in a suit with a shiny badge clipped to his belt. He didn't even greet me, just started barking. Sir, this is private property. I need you to move your vehicle immediately. I looked at his badge. HOA security officer. Not a cop. Just a wannabe rent-a-cop hired by Rebecca. You got jurisdiction on my family land? I asked. This area is part of Willowbrook Estates, sir. You're trespassing. I smiled. You sure about that? Because last time I checked, my deed says parcel 77B, and that ain't never been part of any HOA. He hesitated, his confidence cracked. If you have documents, you can present them to the board. The board? I laughed. You mean the lady who stole my lake and renamed it after herself? He turned red. Sir, I'll have to call the sheriff. I nodded. Good. Do that. Let's see what the sheriff thinks. An hour later, a dusty patrol car pulled up. Sheriff Daniels stepped out, same man who used to fish with my grandpa. His eyes softened when he saw me. Marcus Brennan. I'll be damned. You really came back. Yeah, I said, and apparently I'm trespassing on my own land now. He sighed, rubbing his temples. Son, it's complicated. This woman, Rebecca Holloway, she filed an incorporation notice 3 years ago. Claimed your property was part of the Willowbrook expansion project. She's been collecting dues, managing permits, even sold 2 nearby lots. I stared at him. You mean to tell me she's been running a racket under your nose, and no one stopped her? He lowered his eyes. Legally, it's messy. You weren't here to contest it. The paperwork looks legitimate. My fists clenched. Because she forged it. I walked to my truck, grabbed the deed, and laid it on his hood. Right there, Sheriff. Signed 1987, Samuel Brennan. No HOA, no subdivision. Just one family, one cabin, one dream. Daniel studied it, his face turning pale. I'll have to get the county clerk involved, he muttered. That afternoon, I drove into town. The clerk's office smelled like dust and coffee, same old wooden counter, same squeaky fan spinning above. The clerk, an old lady named Ms. Gibbons, looked up. Marcus Brennan. Lord, it's been years. Your grandpa'd be proud you came back. I handed her the papers. Ms. Gibbons, can you pull the latest record for parcel 77B? She typed on her old computer, eyes squinting at the screen. Then her lips parted in shock. Marcus, this can't be right. It says the property was annexed into the Willowbrook HOA in 2022. Signed by an acting trustee. Trustee. I repeated. Who signed it? She scrolled, then froze. Rebecca Holloway. I slammed my hand on the counter. That woman forged my family's land into her playground. I want copies of every document she filed. Ms. Gibbons nodded, printing out a thick stack. You didn't hear this from me, but folks around here been whispering, she's been bullying the lakeside owners, forcing them to join her HOA. Anyone who refused got buried in fake fines or zoning violations. I looked at those papers like they were bullets. Because that's exactly what they were, proof. As I drove back toward the lake, the sunset hit the water like fire. Rebecca was standing by the gate, arms crossed, pretending to look unbothered. I stopped right in front of her, stepped out, and laid the papers on the hood of her golf cart. You've got a week, Rebecca, I said quietly. A week for what? She snapped. To explain this to a judge. She laughed, that fake, plastic laugh of hers. Oh, sweetie, you don't stand a chance. This is Willowbrook property now. I looked her dead in the eye. Not for long. Then I drove off, her laughter echoing behind me, the sound of someone who had no idea the war she just started. I didn't sleep that night. The crickets outside sang, the lake shimmered under moonlight, but my blood was boiling too loud to hear anything else. Inside my truck, I laid out every document Ms. Gibbons gave me, maps, land annexation forms, HOA charters, all stamped, all suspiciously signed in the same handwriting. Rebecca Holloway's. Every page was a lie written in ink. She had built her little kingdom of fake gates, fancy signs, and threats, on my family's soil. And she'd been extorting my neighbors, too. So, I started with them. At sunrise, I walked down the old dirt road that once connected all of us, before she renamed it Willowbrook Drive. Mr. and Mrs. Henderson, my grandparents' old friends, were sitting on their porch when they saw me. Tears filled Mrs. Henderson's eyes. Marcus? Lord, we thought you'd never come back. I did, I said softly, but it looks like Rebecca tried to erase me before I got here. They invited me inside. The house smelled like cedar and coffee, same as always. Then Mr. Henderson opened a drawer and pulled out a stack of envelopes. "She's been sending us fines," he said. $50 for leaving a canoe near the lake. $100 for not trimming the grass to community standards. We didn't even sign up for her HOA. He pointed to the gate visible through the window. She even made us pay to go see our grandkids swim. $50 a visit. My chest tightened. That wasn't just corruption, that was cruelty. "Don't worry," I said. "I'm gonna fix this." Next stop, old Mr. Hayes' place. He used to be the caretaker of my cabin. But when I got there, his property was abandoned, the front door padlocked, and a red sticker slapped on it. "Foreclosed by Willowbrook HOA." I stood there staring at it, jaw tight. Rebecca had driven out even the people who guarded my home. That was the moment I stopped being angry, and started planning. That afternoon, I set up a temporary workstation inside my truck bed, laptop, files, drone camera, and a body cam clipped to my shirt. If Rebecca ran her little scam under the radar, I was going to drag every bit of it into the light. Step 1, Evidence. I recorded every gate, every fake pillar, every "no trespassing" sign on my property. Step 2, Witnesses. I interviewed the neighbors who'd been fined or threatened. Every story was the same: harassment, intimidation, false charges. Step 3, Proof of fraud. The signatures on her documents matched her handwriting, and Ms. Givens confirmed it wasn't notarized correctly. I started building a case like I was back in the army, methodical, disciplined, ruthless. That evening, I got an unexpected visitor. A young woman pulled up in a small gray car. She looked nervous but determined. "You Marcus Brennan?" she asked. "Yeah." "Who's asking?" "Name's Lila. I used to work for the Willowbrook HOA." My heart skipped. "Then you know what she's been doing." Lila nodded, clutching a small flash drive. "She made me forge digital signatures and backdate forms. I couldn't take it anymore, so I quit. But I saved copies of everything." She handed me the drive. On it were internal emails, fake invoices, even bank transfers, proof that Rebecca had been pocketing HOA fees directly into her personal account. I grinned for the first time in days. "Lila, you just gave me the smoking gun." By nightfall, I uploaded every file onto a secure cloud. Then I wrote an email, not to the sheriff this time, but to a local news reporter who'd once covered corruption in the county. "Fake HOA queen steals veterans' land, I have proof." Before I hit send, I looked out at the lake, the moonlight reflecting off the water my grandfather once fished in. "Grandpa," I whispered, "I'm bringing our land back." Then I pressed send. The next morning, I woke to chaos. Rebecca's shiny HOA world was starting to crack. The reporter's headline spread like wildfire. "Army veteran returns home to find woman running fake HOA on his property." Within hours, county inspectors, news vans, and angry residents crowded the entrance. Rebecca was pacing in her golf cart, shouting orders, her fake calm melting away. But the best part? She didn't know what was still coming, because I hadn't shown her the final piece of evidence yet. That would happen in the courtroom. The courthouse smelled like old paper and cold air, the kind of place where justice either lives or dies quietly. I sat at the wooden bench, files in hand, watching Rebecca Holloway strut through the doors like she owned the building. She wore a designer suit, pearl earrings, and that same fake smile she used to charm the neighbors she robbed blind. The judge, a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes, called the case. Case number 2025, CV, 317. Brennan vs. Willowbrook Homeowners Association. Rebecca's lawyer, some slick city guy with shiny shoes, started first. "Your Honor, My client has maintained this community for years, ensuring safety, order, and value for all residents. Mr. Brennan, however, abandoned his property and has no standing to disrupt a legally recognized homeowners association. He smiled like the whole thing was already won. But the judge turned to me. Mr. Brennan, your response. I stood up, straightened my jacket, and took a deep breath. Years in the army had taught me how to face pressure, and this was nothing compared to enemy fire. Your Honor, I didn't abandon anything. I served this country overseas for 3 years. And when I came home, I found my grandfather's land, a $4 million lakefront property, stolen and rebranded by this woman. The courtroom murmured. Rebecca's confident smile twitched for the first time. I laid out the first piece of evidence, the original deed signed by my grandfather in 1987. Then, the so-called annexation papers filed in 2022, both signatures side by side, completely different. Notice how my grandfather's name is misspelled on her document, I said. He never signed anything under Samuel with 2 M's. She forged it. The judge leaned forward. And do you have proof this document is invalid? Yes, sir. Not only was it never notarized properly, but I have the county clerk's affidavit confirming it was digitally inserted after the filing date. Then I clicked the remote. The projector lit up, showing screenshots of Rebecca's emails from the whistleblower, Lila. The words hit the room like a hammer. We'll just backdate Marcus Brennan's file. He's overseas, he won't notice. If the neighbors complain, fine them. We need those HOA fees before tax season. The courtroom gasped. Rebecca's lawyer stood up. Objection. This material is obtained illegally. The judge slammed his gavel. Overruled. This goes to intent and fraud. Continue, Mr. Brennan. I played one more clip, a voice memo from Lila's phone. Rebecca's voice filled the courtroom. That land's wasted on some old cabin. Once it's fully annexed, I'll sell it to developers and make a killing. Every eye in that room turned toward her. Her face went from pale to red to pure panic. I looked at her and said quietly. You stole from veterans, from families, from your own neighbors. But you forgot one thing, I don't quit. The judge leaned back, took off his glasses, and sighed heavily. Then he spoke the words I'll never forget. Mrs. Holloway, your actions constitute property fraud, forgery, and illegal annexation. This court hereby dissolves the Willowbrook HOA effective immediately. The property known as Parcel 77B is restored to its rightful owner, Mr. Marcus Brennan. Furthermore, you are ordered to pay restitution to all residents affected by your fraudulent activities. The sound of that gavel echoed through the room like thunder. Rebecca's perfect image shattered. Her lawyer quietly packed his bag while reporters swarmed the hallways. One of the older neighbors, Mrs. Henderson, hugged me with tears in her eyes. Your granddaddy would be proud, Marcus. You brought justice home. As we walked out, the cameras flashed. A journalist shoved a mic toward me. Mr. Brennan, what do you plan to do now that you've won? I smiled. I'm going home. To my cabin. And I'm gonna take that "no trespassing" sign off my own gate. That night, as the stars shimmered above the lake, I parked my truck beside the cabin. The fake stone pillars were gone, the gate torn down. The road was back to dirt, just the way Grandpa left it. I looked at the reflection of the moon in the water, and for the first time in years, I felt peace. We're home again, Grandpa, I whispered. But little did I know, Rebecca Holloway wasn't done yet. Because people like her don't go down without one last dirty trick. For a few weeks, peace finally returned to the lake. The fake gate was gone. The Willowbrook Estates sign was ripped out of the ground and dumped by the roadside. Neighbors started visiting again, kids ran along the dock, the smell of barbecue filled the air, and for the first time in 3 years, my grandfather's cabin felt alive again. But peace doesn't last long when pride and greed are still breathing. One cool morning, I walked out to the mailbox and found a thick envelope taped shut, no return address. Inside were photos. Grainy ones. My truck, my cabin, me walking near the dock at night. Then a note, typed in bold letters. Enjoy your victory while you can. You don't belong here anymore. I knew that handwriting, blocky, cold, calculated. Rebecca Holloway. A week later, a county inspector showed up at my door. Mr. Brennan, we received complaints about unauthorized septic construction and environmental violations on your property. I almost laughed. You're kidding, right? I've barely touched the place. He sighed. I'm just doing my job, sir. Someone's filed 3 reports under an anonymous name. 3 reports. 3 lies. She was trying to bury me in paperwork and fines, one last time. But this time, I was ready. I pulled out my body cam, clicked it on, and said, Sir, for your records, I'm the rightful owner, and I'm being harassed by a known fraud under investigation. Please note today's date. He nodded, looking embarrassed. We've been hearing things about her, we'll verify everything. The moment he left, I drove straight to town. And sure enough, there she was, Rebecca, standing outside a coffee shop, sunglasses on, phone in hand, pretending nothing had happened. When she saw me, her smirk vanished. Still here, Marcus, she sneered. You just can't help yourself, can you? I said. Even after the court stripped you of everything. You embarrassed me, she hissed. In front of the entire county. You think that's justice? No, I said calmly. That was mercy. Her face twisted. She grabbed her phone, pointed it at me. Get off my street. I looked around at the people watching, phones recording. This street? I said. You mean my road, Willowbrook Drive, now officially renamed Brennan Road. Check the county records. The crowd gasped. Her hand trembled. You can't. I stepped closer. I already did. And the sheriff's watching you now. Every move. She turned red, stammered, then stormed off, her empire gone, her power stripped, and her reputation in ashes. That night, I sat by the fire pit near the lake. Mr. Henderson stopped by with his wife, carrying a tray of peach cobbler. The neighbors laughed, shared stories, and for the first time in years, everyone felt safe again. As the laughter faded and the stars reflected off the lake, Mrs. Henderson said softly. Your grandpa used to say, land remembers who it belongs to. Looks like he was right. I nodded, staring at the water. He always said you can't fence in a legacy. Weeks later, I got a call from Sheriff Daniels. Marcus, you'll want to know, Rebecca's been arrested. Tried to start another fake HOA 2 towns over. Same scam. She won't be seeing daylight for a while. I closed my eyes, exhaling the kind of relief that feels like freedom. Thank you, Sheriff. As spring came, I rebuilt the cabin porch, polished the old sign that still read Brennan Lake Cabin, since 1987. When I hammered the last nail, a warm breeze came off the water, and for a second, I swear I could hear my grandfather's voice, steady, proud, and smiling. You did good, son. You brought it home. I looked up at the sky and whispered. This land's ours again. And no gate, no greed, no fake HOA will ever change that. The camera could have panned wide there, the lake glistening, sun setting over the hills, the dirt road back to what it once was, simple, honest, and free. And for the first time since coming home, I finally felt it deep down. Justice wasn't just served. It was restored.